Hey guys, it's Hunter. Welcome back to another episode of Ask a Fish. This is the somewhat weekly series where I answer the questions that you leave on Discord, and it's kind of like a weekly recap and discussion of the recent gear releases. Speaking of which, make sure you've joined the Discord server if you haven't already. That's where I pick your questions from first, and it's also just a fun time. A lot of cool stuff to talk about this week, so do me a favor, smack a like on the video if you're going to enjoy it. That actually really helps out with the wild and wacky YouTube algorithm, and let's jump right into your questions. Rusty, the ugly guitar maker, asks, PRS or Sweetwater has really solid color finishes for some of the S2 models. Thoughts? Yeah, these kind of flew under the radar with the 10th anniversary models obviously being the main focus of the S2 line this year. And if Rusty, the ugly guitar maker, hadn't pointed these out, definitely would have missed them. But essentially, one of the main things I hear about why some people aren't nearly as stoked on PRS guitars as I am is they can be too gaudy. They have a well-earned reputation for being really bright, really flashy, highly figured tops, saturation down to 11, boosted with a tube screamer, and while I love that, I definitely see where these people are coming from. And so yeah, these do appear to be limited dealer exclusives, but the S2 McCarty 594 single cut now has 3 solid color satin options. All satin black, lime metallic, and pearl melon. Okay, so maybe only all satin black isn't super bright and saturated, but I think this is the first time that they've done like a smooth satin. The other satin S2s, from what I can remember, have all been open pore, which I personally prefer. This looks more like, what's a guitar that anyone would know? The vintage black EC1000, that kind of satin. Other than the colors though, the specs look exactly the same as the one that I tried. And the S2 McCarty is a sick guitar. I wish they did more satin colors actually. Not just because I prefer the feel of satin over gloss, but really the only annoying thing about the McCarty was that for whatever reason, PRS's nitro over poly finish is super staticky. It collects more dust particles than any other brand's finish, and I have no idea why. My 10-top Tremonti is the same, and wiping it down, if anything, makes it even worse because it becomes even more staticky. And when I demoed the S2, I got so much in the comments for the B-roll. It was pollen season, and yeah, it was bad. If you live in the South, you understand. If you park your car outside, prepare to have a yellow car for months. Listen, I was fighting a losing battle, man. And PRS's satin finishes don't have that issue. Plus, that McCarty in satin black has such a sick, no-nonsense workhorse vibe. Here's where I'll throw it to you, though. Have you experienced the same dust collecting problem with PRS guitars? How have you dealt with it? Please send help. Phoenix Blue asks, Ola just dropped a video of the Solar European Workshop Tour, which revealed that Marceau Guitars in France is the builder for his European-made guitars. Do you know anything about Marceau? Thoughts? Yeah, so when I first heard the name, I knew it was familiar. I just couldn't place my finger on it, but when I went to the website, it all clicked. I heard of them from Chloe's Guitar. She's a French YouTuber, and she had a custom guitar built with them. It looked awesome. I've tried to contact them a couple times because in my ongoing quest to try every single cut, the Dominante is on the list. Never tried a French-made instrument, and the price seems really reasonable for a premium EU-built carved top guitar. So I've never played one, never seen one in real life, still haven't talked to them yet. Thanks for reminding me though. I'll try to hit them up after I'm done filming this video, see if they want to do something together. Check out their Instagram. They've made some Dominantes with outrageous tops. They've also made the single ugliest, most wholesome guitar ever for Valentine's Day. But with all the hype around Solar Guitars Europe, there is potentially big Solar news that's kind of flown under the radar. Not only is Solar doing Solar Guitars Europe at the super high end of the spectrum, they're also doing super budget-friendly guitars at the complete opposite end with the sub-brand called S by Solar. Kind of like their Squire, and available only right now, at least, in select markets. One such market is Brazil, which is how I found out about it. Shout out to all my viewers in Brazil who keep me updated with such things. And so these are super stripped down versions of Solar guitars. Poplar bodies, bolt-on maple necks with Techwood fingerboards, whatever that is. Dot inlays instead of the Solar logo on the 12th fret. There are quite a few models on the Solar Guitars Brazil website, like the S shape, the A shape, the E, the V, the T, even a 7-string. They're retailing for the equivalent of about $300 to $500 US. The website does look kind of sketch though, and Ola isn't following their Instagram, so at first I thought it might be a scam. But then I found a video on Solar Guitars Brazil where Ola is introducing the series himself. Unless it's a deepfake, Dude, I have no idea what's real on the internet anymore, but we move. Really interesting, the 5-bolt pattern on the back is almost Sterling-like. We'll have to wait and see whether S by Solar eventually comes to other markets, or whether it's a developing market only brand, which is what a lot of tech and car companies do. I mean, listen, it's what I was saying in the YouTuber Guitar Brands video. It is crazy to see how much Solar has exploded in such a short period of time. Between their main lineup, S by Solar and Solar Guitars Europe, it's quickly becoming impossible to brush them aside as anything less than a legitimate and growing competitor in the guitar market. But here's where I'll throw it to you. What do you think about S by Solar, about Solar Guitars Europe, about Solar Guitars in general? And all thoughts, leave them down below. And then even more Solar news just dropped? Sure, why not? So not only have we talked about Solar Guitars Europe and S by Solar, their main bread and butter also got some love. Regular production X-shapes have arrived. It had previously been a European master build exclusive for about a week. There's 4 new releases, 3 25.5-inch scale length 6 strings, carbon black matte, aged natural matte, and Cannibalisimo Plus. Then 1 26.5-inch scale length 7 string in the X 1.7 metallic purple plus. And these are obviously very inspired by guitars like the Jackson Warrior or the BC Rich Stealth, or, you know, because it's Ola, this super pointy guitar kind of fills the hole left by the Dean Razorback. I don't know, that's maybe a bit of a stretch. It's more like a combination between Solar's E-shape and an ML, but it makes for a good narrative. The ultimate Dime fan making his own tribute to the legend. And you know the deal with Solar, specs are super consistent, same 14-inch radius ebony fingerboard, thin C set through maple neck, Duncan Solar pickups, apparently based on the Seymour Duncan Custom 5 in the bridge, 59 in the neck. And then the 1 series has things like extra jumbo stainless steel frets, lumen lays, hard cases. All of the current X shapes have Evertunes, and the Cannibalisimo is the only one in the lineup with a swamp ash body instead of alder. With so much spec consistency, as a consumer, you know what the playing experience is going to be like, and it makes it very easy for them to launch new models very quickly. It's not like, for example, Harley Benton, where it's more like a shotgun approach. They're trying to cover every single base for all sorts of players. And so when you're designing a new model for Harley Benton, you have to analyze everything and double check all the tiny spec details. You know, everything from neck shape to fingerboard radius to string spacing. With Solar, I mean, even the control layouts are similar from model to model. It's very, very smart the way they've set things up to move quickly. And that's a huge reason as to why I'm a big fan of Solar and why they're so fun to cover. They drop so many variations. If you want a shape, there's so many color options. Chances are you're gonna like at least one of them. And if you don't like a shape, like this super pointy X shape is totally not my thing, they have plenty of others with the same-ish feel. Like the T-shape, it looks super dope. I don't know how it's viable that they have so many SKUs, I guess because all the rest of the specs are the same so they can be efficient with production in that regard. Either way, to justify so many SKUs, they must be doing ridiculous numbers. The $4,000 European X-shape sold out within days. Good for them. And that means sometime in the near future, we are definitely getting a more Dime-inspired Floyd-equipped model. But yeah, I want to hear from you guys. What do you think of Solar's take on the X-shape? You like it? Not so much? Why? Why not? And now it's time for the segment you've all been waiting for. It's time to hear from yet another adoring fan. It's the high praise of the week. Christ, just realized you can't play for shit. Love your vids though. Wow. Thanks. Actually, it's impressive how perfectly executed that backhanded compliment was. Actually, it's not even backhanded. It's just a straight insult followed up by a compliment. So, fuck yourself, and thank you. I'm glad you're enjoying the content. And just so you know, I do take all of these in good fun. I'm not saying it's cool, but when you create content, you get hundreds of these a week. And especially something like this, I've never claimed to be a great player. What I am good at is hearing techniques and concepts or identifying an artist's patterns and using those to quickly come up with riff and demo track ideas, which is why I love comments like this. Masterclass on how to write riffs from scratch. That was on the Ibanez demo video, and it means a hell of a lot more to me than, you can't play for shit. Now that we're getting to the end of the video, if you need more of my face, in case you missed it, since the last episode of Askfish, I uploaded a demo of an absolutely ridiculous 27 fret Ibanez guitar. And if you've watched the channel for a while now, you know I'm not the biggest fan of ICYMI, and I was pretty skeptical of the 2023 Axe Design Lab in particular, but even I'll admit the guitar is pretty damn fun. There is so much fingerboard right-hand tapping ridiculousness ensues. Plus, it was my first MIJ Prestige, and I can see why the meme exists. Then I uploaded a video talking about the state of YouTuber guitar brands, you know, what's going on in the world of Chapman guitars, of Solar guitars, of newcomer Badlands guitars, and what it means for the future of the scene. By the way, I really appreciate a lot of you who commented on that video. I mean, whenever you post something about Chapman guitars, it has the potential to devolve into just complete vitriol-fueled shit show. But a lot of you took the time to craft some very well thought out responses that weren't just shitting on one brand or another. And I really appreciate that, because I've seen that play out in other comment sections, and I'm always wary of posting videos like this because of it, but I still thought it was something we should talk about, and you guys came through, restored some of my faith in the online guitar community, so yeah, thank you. Uploaded a few Guitar of the Day shorts, which have their own little growing following on Instagram and TikTok, which is exciting to see. Also, a reminder on an older one in case you missed it, I uploaded a demo of the Charvel Sean Long signature a couple weeks ago. It was a demo a lot of you were waiting for, and it seems like the YouTube algorithm just didn't push it to a lot of people. It's a good reminder that if you want to see videos when they go live, you need to have the bell ticked for notifications. And it's a shame because I love this guitar and it's one of my favorite demo tracks, so if we can get this to 1,000 likes, that'd be really, really sweet. And lastly, Fluff dropped a My Issue with Gibson video, so I crafted a response entitled The Real Issue with Gibson Guitars. I'm not going to say what it was because I don't want to spoil it if you haven't seen it yet, but again, it's exhausting when you see the same anti-Gibson talking points rehashed in the comments over and over and over again. And I'm not saying those aren't valid points, but it was just amazing to see a lot of you actually listening to what I had to say and responding to it in a well thought out way instead of just everything turning into another Gibson bashing session. Just really appreciate you guys is my main point. My IRL normie friends don't give a fuck about the nerdy guitar stuff, and it's awesome that we've got a community where actual conversations can take place. But that will do it for this week's episode of Ask a Fish. Massive shout out to my awesome patrons. Their names are up on the screen right now. Consider joining them, or as a YouTube member, or picking up some merch. All of those are great ways to support the channel if you enjoy what I do. Social media, Patreon, merch, and Discord server links are in the description. As always, thank you so much for watching. You've been awesome, and I will see you for the next video.